This is about the Electoral College, right? So let's take a look at the average margin. Nationally, Harris is ahead in the average poll by 2.5 points. But look in those 7 key battleground states: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Harris is only ahead by 0.3 points, John. So the bottom line is, in those 7 key battleground states, it's a significantly tighter race than it is nationally, John.
Also, if you notice the Chiron there, he is taking into account the latest ABC Ipsos poll, and they showed that there was zero bounce for Kamala Harris after the debate. This, according to ABC. Harris seen as debate winner while maintaining slight lead over Trump. This is according to their latest poll. Now, they buried the lead. It's deep in the article where they reveal that preferences haven't moved really at all. The poll found that Harris is leading 51 to 46%, Harris-Trump. But if you take a look at that, it is virtually unchanged from the pre-debate numbers. So in the chart below, it actually says 52 to 46% both. That's because they rounded up. It was like 51.8, I believe. And so that's why there's a discrepancy between the text in the article and then the actual graph below. But as you can see, no post-debate bounce. And this is even after the media went on a whirlwind trying to spin the debate as a win for Kamala Harris. Now, for those of you who have been watching the channel for a little bit, you know that I've been talking a lot about Nate Silver's model, and Nate Silver's model shows that if, Kamala Harris barely wins the popular vote, 1 to 2%, then Trump actually has a 75% chance of winning the Electoral College. If Kamala Harris only wins by 1%, Trump has a 91% chance of winning the Electoral College. So that's Nate Silver's analysis. Well, Harry Enten on CNN has his own analysis of what this would look like, and his model is pretty similar to what Nate Silver came up with. Here's what Enten had to say.
Al Gore and Hillary Clinton are calling right now, Harry, asking what the chances are that Harris could win the popular vote but lose in the Electoral College.
Okay, so basically, you note that 2.5 point lead nationally here, right? Okay, Harris's chances, if she wins the popular vote by 2 to 3 points, the chance she wins the Electoral College is only 53%. The bottom line is, once you have to get all the way north to about 3 to 4 points for Harris to have a clear chance, the clear majority chance of winning the Electoral College. If she only wins by less than 2, look at that, only a 23% chance of winning. Right now, Harris is right now in that danger zone where basically about half the time, given that popular vote margin nationally, she would win.
So despite all these polls coming out showing Kamala Harris in a slight lead in the national polling average, that really doesn't matter because, of course, this comes down to the swing states. But there's actually good news for Trump because one of the most accurate pollsters from 2020 as well as 2022 has Trump now in the lead, and not just in the lead, but over that critical 50% threshold. But before we get into that, Harry Enten did have one other thing to add, basically confirming that these national polls don't matter all that much.
Here's the situation. Chance Harris wins the popular vote at this point is about 70%, but the chance she wins the Electoral College is only about 50%. So the bottom line is, at this hour, John, there's about a 20% chance that Kamala Harris wins the popular vote, but actually loses in the Electoral College.
And don't forget this 70% chance, the 70% probability of Harris winning the popular vote. This really feels like an echo of 2016 in that Hillary Clinton had a 70% chance of winning the Electoral College, according to all the predictors that were out there. And now, the difference now is that we actually have polls showing that Trump is ahead in the national popular vote. So even though she, is the big favorite to win the popular vote, it's not over until Election Day in November. And I'll get to that poll in a second.
So we could be heading towards one of these splits that we saw in 2016 and in 2000, whereby one candidate, Kamala Harris, wins in the popular vote but loses in the Electoral College. Basically, at this hour, we're right in that sort of weird middle zone where we honestly don't know what's going to happen based upon the popular vote, and that is why those national polls that show Kamala Harris ahead, at this point, really don't matter that much.
So there is this new poll out by Atlas Intel, and they are arguably one of the most accurate pollsters in the country. So this is from 538. You'll see here Atlas Intel, I circled them in red, rectangled them in red. They had 14 polls, and that next column is actually percentage. 71% of their races were accurate. Now, some people are going to be asking, well, why are they considered, or why is it argued that they're one of the most accurate pollsters if they've only called 71% of races correctly? Well, the reason for that is if you look at the very right-hand most column, their average error was only 2.2%. So they were closest to the final results compared to all these other polls. Now, for example, just to put this into perspective, ABC in 2020, ABC predicted that Joe Biden was going to win, and we know what happened in 2020, but Joe Biden, according to that ABC poll, was supposed to win the election by 17 points. So how would you grade that ABC poll, right? Were they accurate because they called the race, or were they inaccurate because they missed by double digits? You know, Joe Biden didn't reach a double digit lead over President Trump, let alone a 17-point lead. So that's why a lot of people argue that Atlas Intel is the most accurate. Put another way, if you stack it this way, it becomes really clear how close they are to the results. You'll notice, a lot of people love Rasmussen reports, and they were even more accurate than Rasmussen, Trafalgar. So great news for the Trump campaign. So what is Atlas Intel showing? Well, they're showing that when Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are polled with the third-party candidates, Trump is ahead 50.9% to 47.3%, almost a 4-point lead for Trump. That would be a huge national poll, vote lead, and that would give Trump a 99% chance, 99% probability of winning the Electoral College. But that's not all. It actually shows that the trend line is in favor of former President Donald Trump. The last time they did a poll was in late July, so you'll see Trump was ahead 50.1% to Kamala Harris's 48%, and now, just a few months later, Kamala Harris is still at 48%, but Trump increased his lead by almost 1 percentage point. He's now leading 50.9%, a 0.8% increase over Kamala Harris, so that is huge news for Trump. Now, when you take this into the aggregate of all the other polls, Kamala Harris is still leading. You'll see 48.1% to 47.1%. But again, if you consider that Atlas Intel it was the most accurate in 2020 as far as the final results, pretty impressive there. So one more thing before we break this down even further, just to confirm, this is a combination of Atlas Intel data as well as Nate Silver's model. And if Trump wins the popular vote, 50.9%, then his probability of winning the Electoral College is 99.9%. Now, what's interesting here is Atlas Intel, just to put this into perspective here. The U.S. midterms, because a lot of people say, 2020 was a long time ago. The midterms were the latest thing. So Atlas Intel found that Republicans were going to win the midterms nationally by 3.1 percentage points. You'll see here 49.7% and the Democrats 46.6%. Now, just to clarify, because a lot of people say, well, the red wave didn't happen in 2022. That is technically correct because the midterm elections are based on congressional districts, right? So it's similar to the Electoral College in that way, in that the national vote total doesn't matter. But I pointed this out then, and I'll point this out now. It was a huge red wave. Think about the last time Republicans have won the national popular vote. Ooh, it's been a while. Well, I pulled up the results from 2022, just as I did then. And you'll notice that Republicans won the national popular vote by 2.8 percentage points. Again, the national polling doesn't matter. The national results don't matter because this comes down to specific congressional districts. And, when it comes to midterms, all politics are local, right? But if we take a look at this, the final results of 2022, Republicans won by 2.8. And then the final Atlas Intel poll going into that election, Republicans ahead by 3.1. Wow, they were really close to that final election result as recently as 2 years ago. So they weren't just accurate in 2020, they were really accurate in 2022. One final thing, this pundit on CNN said something that I thought was quite atrocious, and I just wanted to point this out because I think it shows that there is a double standard in how we discuss race and politics in this country.
Can I say something about this? Because this is what really bothers me when we have this discussion. I never really talk about this because it's not politically correct to say it, but he's in a dead heat because of white people. I mean, the majority of white people support Donald Trump, and they supported him in 2016, they supported him in 2020, they'll probably support him in 2024. If it were up to black people, Latinos, and Asian Americans, and other people of color, he would lose in a landslide.
But Keith, to be fair, Keith, he's gaining amongst African American men and Hispanics.
But it's still about white dominance.
I understand
it's
that,
still about white dominance.
You know, he's in the lead because he protects and.
Here's the reality. Barack Obama would have never become president, let alone become a two-term president, if it weren't for white people. He won the majority of white voters. This country as a whole is not a racist country. Are there terrible people out there? Yes, of course, there are terrible people in literally every country in the world, but that's what progress is. Progress is, you know, accountability, getting better, and trying to find the biases within each and every one of us and trying to get better. But what's happening is that there seems to be this double standard on the left, which is making that bias even worse because they're allowed to call out white people and blame white people for everything. And just not acknowledge anything else. They're always demonizing one group of people, which, you know, and that sort of language is quite frankly what led to the second assassination attempt that we saw yesterday against former President Donald Trump. So I think it's really disturbing that there is a double standard as far as what you can say on mainstream media, because if you said that, you know, the only reason Kamala Harris is winning is because of black people, which is true, by the way. If you took out the black vote and it was just left to Hispanics, Asians, white voters, Trump would win. I mean, you could say that. You can say the reverse, the inverse of what he said about virtually any other racial group. And let me just put it this way. If it wouldn't be politically correct to say it about a minority group, then you probably shouldn't say it about white people. The moment we start creating standards for a racial group over here that doesn't apply to a racial group over there, I mean, come on, right? I don't need to spell this out for you. It's just, for whatever reason, half the country and the people who watch the mainstream media just don't see that. They don't see this divide and this just open discrimination happening before our eyes. And if people don't speak out against it, it's going to become entrenched in the culture. It's going to become entrenched in how we think about things. And that is a very dangerous place to be. As always, this is my commentary and my analysis, and I would love to know yours in the comments below. What do you think about these latest polls? I know a lot of people don't like the polls, but they are snapshots in time. The reliable ones are showing good numbers as well as good momentum for former President Donald Trump. But the reality is that this is likely to be a nail biter until the very end. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.